from the annals of all of our clients we've had over the years and pick a few situations out. And our situation today is, how do you transition the management and ownership of a business to the next generation without destroying the family? And I know there are many family companies out there, and it's often a challenge. How do you do it? There's so many things that go into the transition of both the management of day-to-day operations as well as the ownership, and being fair to the different kids and everything else, all things that go into that. How do you do that and still keep the family part intact? It's very tough. And
I think most approaches are to get the legal team, the accounting team, the tax planning, and rightfully so. That's a big part of it. But what about the operations? Hey, Adam, just follow me around for 6 months, buddy, and I'm going to show you everything you need to know about running this company.
Ah, yes, the osmosis approach.
We have heard that one countless times.
Right.
There's probably the biggest importance of the continuity of the company and the cash flows that come from that is running the company successfully and handing it off to whoever's going to do that.
Right.
So.
That's probably the biggest key to help the current generation to be comfortable to step away. Because one of their biggest fears, whether it's articulated or not, is that once they step away, they don't want to be stepping back in. Because once you're done, it's like if you ever change jobs, and once you've decided on changing jobs, it's your mind kind of clicks off. You're in a different place. So if you're gone for a few months, a few years, to have to now come back in is very daunting.
Oh my God, nothing worse. That's right.
That's a big part of it. It's one that the idea is you want to get to the point where when that current generation exits, it's almost a non-event from the day-to-day operations standpoint, because the company's been run by that next generation from that standpoint.
We separate ourselves from the lawyers, insurance, the CPAs. We focus on the operations of that company,
right,
and how to pass it on. That's what our expertise is.
And so the story I want to share here a little bit today is, it relates to, again, a couple things I want to touch on before I jump in. Again, small business, again, it's 1 to 25 employees. And our 7 keys to success I talked about earlier. If you go to our website, MaximumVP.com, MVP Playbook, there's a nice graphic there, a nice infographic that shows our 7 keys to success. And the 2 here that were key are number 4 and 5, the org chart and leadership.
We've developed those 7 keys over working together with small businesses for over 15 years.
Right.
And we know they work. We've worked with many hundreds of companies, and if they master the 7 keys, they're in.
Right. So this current situation I want to share today, there's a second generation that was there, and they were already basically, by the time we got involved, they were already basically kind of running the company from the operations standpoint. They were, I'll use the term, in charge, and it's always one of those things that can get confusing. With a small company, the ownership and management usually are the same, which is very different from a public company, which usually have owners being one thing and then the operators or managers being something different. But with a small private company, usually the 2 are the same. So you had the next generation kind of running things day to day, but you also had the founders were still involved. They're still involved from an ownership standpoint, and they're also still involved a little bit from a day-to-day operations standpoint. One had been ejected a few years ago, and the other
ejected's a good word. I like that word.
And the other one is still involved day-to-day from some operations standpoints, but they can be very disruptive in holding the business back, not on purpose, but they bring out the owner card. There are certain trump cards you've got in life. If you're a card player and you bring those trump cards out, you don't want to overuse those trump cards. But it's often the case, and this is not unusual, but in this particular case this is going on, where the owners would come in and say, don't worry about this, or don't worry about what that person said, I want you to do this. I want you to do this for me, or do it this way because I'm the owner. Now, put yourself in the position of the employees, right? What do you say? And in this case, there are 4 owners. So how do you determine?
How do you break that up?
Yeah.
That's right.
And the owners are telling you different things, right? So chances are what's going to happen is either you go with the person who came to you last, or the person with the strongest personality, or often you don't do anything. You just wait, because I know if I wait till later today or till tomorrow or to next week, I'll get different direction from somebody else. I'll go about doing some other things and not do what I was directed to do. So a big part of what Jack and I do in these situations is we become a facilitator to help kind of come in and calm the situation. Jack and I are not very emotional in general, as it is. Our styles are a little more pragmatic. And so we'll come in, and we are not emotional as it relates to the company. Again, we're on the outside. We can come in and stay at a very high level and talk about what's best for the organization.
You know, that's such a key point, you know, to have that objectivity with a good base of knowledge, not getting emotional, not having agendas, just what's best for the organization, and focus hard on that. It clears a lot of the rubble and nonsense that goes on with all the emotion that gets packed in there.
And so a big part of what we do is we'll come in and we'll help to make sure we have a good relationship with all the parties involved in terms of who all the owners are, because they have to get to know us from a certain standpoint. A big part of what they often want to do is they just want their voice to be heard, you know. And so often you can't do that in a group setting. It all has to be one-to-one, or we'll kind of break them apart. And so that's a big part of what we've been doing with this client now. It's been not quite a year yet. I've been working with all the parties involved to help them get to know us, and we get to know them a little bit, and again, hear what they're saying. And as often the case, whenever you have a situation, there's usually, we talk about three sides to the story. There's her side, there's his side, and there's usually somewhere in between is usually where
That's right.
the actual event was, or the truth is. And a big part of what we try to do is find some of those commonalities to make sure we focus on what the biggest issues are. But a big part of this is often people just want to have their voices be heard. And that's often difficult when you have a family situation, because people are used to certain family dynamics. You've got, you know, parent, child, you've got siblings, you've got cousins, you have older versus younger siblings, and so people are used to those relationships being what they are, and those tend to then bleed over into the business. And so we come in as be very objective and try to make sure, hey, we're talking about what needs to be done from the organization standpoint, and start to get everybody to focus on that, and realize that whatever happened, whether it be 6 months ago, 6 years ago, 20 years ago, that's interesting, but let's kind of move forward from those things, not let those dominate what's happening today or going forward with the company.
Yeah, that lack of agenda and objectivity, you know, gives tremendous credibility, and they're looking for that relief somehow, some way. So we can be extremely brutally direct, and they'll take it, so to speak, because they know it's right. They're hearing it in a way that they've been thinking for quite a while, and as long as it's being met out to all the owners, it's equitable, and it's perceived as being equitable. Plus, you got to be pretty smart too, and we're pretty smart.
Well, so a couple things to keep in mind as we end our segment here is we have to have the tough discussions, and if you have some good advisors involved with part of that, and it's not just, again, attorneys or insurance folks or CPAs. You know, coaches are great for this, and then also leaving the personal stuff at the door. That's very, very important for this kind of stuff. So, all right, I want to thank you for joining us again.